Here's to George, the curious little monkey. He's so full of curiosity. Here's to George, the curious little monkey. He's as curious can be.
Curious George at the fire station. Today, George and his friend, the man with the yellow hat, were visiting the fire station. The fire chief met them in front of the station. "Hello, George," he said. "Your friend tells me you want to be a fireman when you grow up. How would you like to wear this fireman's hat today?" George loved to wear the hat, even though it was a little big for him. They went inside and looked at the fire engines. "We're proud of our engines," said the chief. "We keep them as bright and shiny as we can." Up on a ladder, one fireman was polishing a big brass bell on the wall. "That is our alarm bell," said the chief. "It starts to ring whenever there is a fire to put out." There was another brass bell on the fire engine. "We ring that bell on our way to the fire, George," said the chief, "so that people will hear us coming and get out of the way." "And this is Sally, our Dalmatian. She goes to all the fires with us. She just had a litter of 10 puppies. They're still too young to be playing down here. They have their basket on the second floor where the firemen stay. Would you like to go up and see the puppies?" Of course he would. George and the man with the yellow hat went up to the second floor. There in a straw basket were 10 little Dalmatian puppy dogs. They were so small they could barely stand up. "Yip, yip, yip," they barked in their tiny voices. One of them tried to jump up and lick George's face. Not far from the basket was a big round hole with a pole in the middle that went straight down to the floor below. "When the alarm rings," said the chief, "all the firemen slide down that pole to the fire engines. You may slide down if you want, George, but be careful." Whee! George held onto his hat and slid down the pole like a real fireman. Then he ran over to the fire engine with the brass bell on it and climbed behind the steering wheel. What would it be like to put out a real fire? George was curious. "Make way! Here comes George the fireman." George rang the brass bell on the engine. Clang, clang, clang. The firemen heard the bell. What was going on? They hadn't heard any alarm, but maybe there was a fire. "Who's ringing the engine bell?" cried a fireman. "Fire! Fire!" another one shouted. They all jumped into their uniforms and slid down the pole. When they got to the fire engine, all they saw was a little monkey ringing the bell. "George," said the fire chief, "you've gone too far. Fighting fires is a serious business. Get off the engine right now." George felt terrible. Suddenly, Sally the Dalmatian started to bark. She was looking up to the top of the fire pole. Then the fireman looked up, too. One of the puppies had gotten out of its basket and was looking over the edge of the hole. One more step and it would fall down. What could they do to stop it? But George knew what to do. Nobody could climb up the pole as fast as he could. With one hand, he held out his hat to catch the puppy in case it should fall. And sure enough, the puppy slipped and plop, landed right in George's hat. "Hooray for George!" shouted the fireman as George brought the puppy down. Then Sally licked it all over to make sure it was all right. "That was using your head, George," said the chief. "In fact, for saving the puppy, you're now an honorary fireman of our station. You can keep the hat, and you can visit us anytime." "As long as you don't get into any trouble," added the man with the yellow hat. Then George and the man waved goodbye to everyone, and off they went in their little blue car.